had expired on Monday. But coming to think about it, as they prepare Menvu village, the garbage will still be dumped at Katikolo in Mukono district for a week as Menvu dumping site is being prepared. Now, most of you, whenever you are walking through different towns, not only just Kampala, looking at just the proximity within just the situation within areas such as Nakasero, Nakawa, and all these places, the stench is unbelievable. The garbage pile up is really, really a disaster. But it also puts into place what has been there before, what mechanism or preparedness is there. Clearly, we are seeing that they are grappling with the garbage right now. And it's not only just Kampala. You get to see these same scenarios elsewhere in Jinja, in Mbale, in different districts of Uganda. It is such a sad story, but it is also, as well, just a sneak peek into the preparedness or lack of thereof of the different institutions in managing the garbage situation, despite the fact that quite a number of times there have been different specialists, environmental specialists, who have been thwarted, whose efforts have been thwarted whenever they try to engage different bodies in regards to waste management. This has been coming out a little by little on this. But however, that is some good news coming in, and Menvu village in Busukuma will now be the official dumping site for garbage. Banks also get 29 billion for women's loans. Government releases funds at 10% interest rate. Now, this is very interesting because we've had lots of conversations right here at Smart Means Business, where we have been talking about the different inaccess, the impediments of women when they are accessing monies. We recently brought out a story in which we were talking about the very same, highlighting a lady that had mentioned that she had reached out to a bank and wanted around 150 million because she's within the export sector, and they were just offering her a miserable 30 million. And she said, but I do have the reputation, I do have the reputational collateral, I do have quite a number of things in place that should be able to enable me get this 150 million. But why am I still being discriminated against when it comes to access to finances, to capital? So some good news coming in, and we will be keeping a close eye, of course, because this is going right through the GROW project, and it's meant to uplift the number of women-owned businesses in Uganda. Something very different, and a sizable number, of course, coming in, some reports saying a sizable number of women at stay-at-home mothers, while others are running informal businesses. The GROW project has a component of helping these women. Of course, we also hosted a number of stakeholders, the PRO, as well as gender specialists from GROW project coming in, who came in some time back and gave us some insight on it. Please get out onto YouTube. You will be able to access this information as they mentioned. So the money is out. Women have been waiting for quite a while, waiting to see what is happening. They've been asking so many questions. When is this money coming out? Well, here at Smart 24 TV, we tell you as well that the money is out. The project has capped the interest rate at 10%. You did have banks, of course, giving at ridiculous amounts, 20%, 25%. It was really very backbreaking. But they will be able to access women, and as well as finance partners, male finance partners, male members of some of these businesses will be able to access. It's not only necessarily the women. Remember what was mentioned to us during those interviews when we had the GROW project specialists here, is that if there is a business and the woman as director of the business owns at least 51% of the shares, and the other shares are held by male partners, you still qualify. The most important thing is that 51% has to be owned by a lady within that business for you to qualify to access some of these wonderful opportunities. Some good news coming in there. Please access these monies and use them. It's quite a good strategy within the GROW project. Over 8,000 new HIV infections in Kampala last year. Now, remember, we ran just another story sometime last month talking about, of course, the hike. This is quite a big hike. And you had quite a number of other different districts, such as Kasese, such as Mbara, that were out in the limelight talking about the different, really the different issues that were there with the hikes in the HIV infections. Well, in Kampala, that is 8,000 new HIV infections. Officials blame this on massage parlors as well as condom stockouts. It's very, very sad news coming out there. Please be very keen. It's not necessarily just the massage parlors at play, but just the laxity as well in sexual behavior. Please be very keen about it. Go test today and find out what your status is. First oil, 72 wells ready for production. Ugandans pay tribute to legal scholar Makubuya. And of course, police hunt man cited in Shillings 1 billion job scam. He was telling them they would be able to pay, I think, pay around 22 million and be able to access jobs in Israel and elsewhere. Well, that was a scam. Quite a number of people have lost their monies, and the hunt is on for this gentleman. 10 doctors suspended over negligence, 50 under probe. In one case, a doctor left a patient's wound open after surgery. Now, this comes in the wake right now of quite a lot of efforts coming in from the Ministry of Health in Uganda to revamp some of what has been happening, and of course look at the ways in which there can be continuous skilling and also better monitoring, especially when it comes to critical areas such as maternal health. We know for sure there are quite a number of good things going on when it comes to maternal health. We will be hosting someone hopefully within the next week to give us a sneak peek into how far it has gone. Sometimes we all get the doom and gloom, but there is something good going on under the Ministry of Health. Now, in some other news, for those of you who keep your land idle, well, you are doing something, you are doing a disservice as well to Uganda because you are not utilizing it, and this is why the planning body is insisting on taxing idle land, because it is saying that indeed quite a number of people buy land just to have it appreciate in value, and of course this sort of hoarding increases the prices, and sometimes even land in Uganda is much more expensive than parcels of land in areas such as London. So they would want to tax that land that you buy, and then you let it sit as well for some time. That is news for you and food for thought, of course. Now, when it comes to the Daily Monitor migration paradox, you have quite a number of educated persons really looking at leaving the country. A new survey shows Ugandans remain welcoming to foreigners but want controls imposed, while more educated persons want to leave the country for greener pastures abroad. About half of Ugandans have thought of going to work abroad. And no wonder when it comes to scams, you have quite a number of Ugandans being scammed, of course, and with more and more companies getting in on board and saying, we will be able to hook you up if you pay this amount of money. Well, the new survey is out there. You can get your Daily Monitor and have a look at it. Albinism beauty contest to shine light on diversity. We've had more and more persons coming out. It is more pageantry right now, is more inclusive than ever before, and urging more and more persons that are differently beautiful to come out and participate. Some findings still coming in on the Katanga shooting that has been going on for quite a while. Nearly half of Ugandans dream of going abroad. Poor pay science health teachers seek demotion, and more than 200 secondary school science head teachers and their deputies are seeking demotions due to the government's failure to implement the presidential directive to enhance their salaries, according to their representative. A lot still going on there. Of course, you do have quite some discontent in that camp between the science teachers and the arts teachers, and a lot of injustice being pointed out there that of course in tandem with the cost of living, it seems as if the arts teachers are being left out, and yet some of these courses and professions are definitely still very relevant. Get your latest news, get your latest today's Daily Monitor as well as the New Vision, and find out what is in there for you to really get into that. But some good news as well coming in, at least there will be something done about that garbage that has been piling up with the new site found in Nansana and Chira municipalities. Let's take a short break and I'll be right back with more news.
Smart 24, driving business.
It's super fast internet. Oh, it's a super camera. It's a super battery.
Phone battery full.
Yeah, it's a super deal. Get the Capote Super from MTN now at a reduced initial deposit of only 49,000 shillings and pay the balance in Pola for as low as 833 shillings per day. Grab this Super Capote deal this Christmas and get 2 GB of free MTN data every month for 8 months. Get the Capote Super now from any MTN shop countrywide. Everywhere you go, MTN. Regulated by UCC.
Amanya gange nze Naswa Sharafa mbeera Kawempe era nga nkola liquid soap. Liquid soap okuva covid we yajja abantu ne batandika bagamba banabe mu ngalo awo naffe twatandikira okuyingira mu business ya liquid soap. Wano mazeewo weeks 2 era nga nkuguse mu liquid soap banyongeddemu skills mweyo yennyini product yange. Skills zenjize wano ngenda zikozesa okulaba nga product yange ekyukamu kuba era we baali batuyigiriza twayiga batuyigiriza mu business development ne batuyigiriza design thinking tuwetadde tutya mu ngato z'abakasitoma baffe. Bakasitoma baffe buzibu ki bwe bafuna mu products zaffe. Twalaba omukisa ne tuddayo eri bakasitoma baffe ne tubabuuza bizibu ki basanga kati nga nze akola liquid soap nembuuzaako awo bizibu ki bye musanga mu business yange. Ne abamu ne baŋŋamba liquid soap w'amazzi, liquid soap ayokya. Ne tukomawo wano Madam Grace n'atuyigiriza in a practical way. Ne tuyiga liquid soap omulungi agenda okuyamba bakasitoma baffe. Obubaka bwennyini eri project ya Grow mbeebaza beebale kutuyigiriza beebale tu including ffe abaliko obulemu ne batateekamu kirowoozo nti tetusobola ne bamanya nti disability is not inability. Era tusaba batongereyongere bongere tuyigiriza in other skills ne webabaawo obusobozi batongere mu capital.
Grow, generating growth opportunities and productivity for women enterprises.
Everyone has a favorite housemate, and the power to keep your favorite in Big Brother's house is by voting. They need your vote each week, and here's how. You can vote on the website or mobile site. You can also vote using the My GoTV app. The higher your GoTV package, the more votes and power you get to keep your faves in the game. Voting opens every Monday and closes every Thursday. Vote now to save your faves from eviction and keep them in Biggie's house. Big Brother Niger, no lose guard. Rated 18. Brought to you by gold sponsor Guinness. Black shines brightest. Yeah.
This is Jordan. When it comes to classwork, Jordan is magic. Jordan shines. Jordan makes his peers better. Jordan is a true leader. White Star Magic family. Be a leader. Be magic.
Smart 24, driving business.
Welcome back from the break. Let me dive straight into Karibu, East Africa, giving you the latest regional news. Some good news coming in as well from Kenya Airways, posting its first profit in 11 years. First time in 11 years. National carrier Kenya Airways is out of the red line for the first time in 10 years after announcing a shillings 513 net profit in the first half of 2024. After 2013, when the airline recorded 384 million, it has been in the red with losses running into billions. The largest loss it reported was in 2020, having sunk in 14.3 billion as a loss. And during the 2023 first year half, the airline reported a loss of about 22 billion. Total income reported in the first half of 2024 are up 22% to 91.49 billion, while operating profit jumped 30% to 1.30 billion due to a decrease in total operating costs by 22% to 90.20 billion. Of course, they say they are not yet there, but this is a significant milestone that indicates their intention to continue transforming the organization into a fully stable and sustainable airline. So this is something that indeed is a reason to celebrate. That was said by the Chief Executive Officer, Alan Kilavuka, who mentioned this recently. The Kenya Airways chairperson, Michael Joseph, said that the airline remains focused on completing its capital restructuring plan to reduce financial leverage and enhance liquidity, thus ensuring a strong foundation for long-term growth and stability. Now, when it comes to Ethiopia is still grappling, is trying to shake up its system, its financial system there. Ethiopia is wrapping up efforts to restructure its $1 billion international bond as part of a broader debt network. Investors have balked at indications that the government is seeking a new haircut while it is setting the stage for tense negotiation. Of course, why is Ethiopia restructuring its debt? Because it is pressed by acute foreign currency shortage and sluggish government revenues amidst a civil war in the northern region of Tigray. The government said in early 2021 that it would restructure its debt under the G20 Common Framework Initiative. Chad, Zambia, and Ghana have all sought to restructure their debts under the program designed to provide swift debt relief to developing countries. Ethiopia's progress was pulled out by the Tigray conflict, which ended in late 2022 and slowed progress in meeting International Monetary Fund requirements to abandon its currency peg, ditch capital controls, and introduce an interest rate-based monetary policy framework. The East African nation, however, with the continent's second most populous 120 million people, floated its birr currency on July 29th, helping it secure a $3.4 billion four-year IMF loan program. The IMF deal unlocked more financing from leaders and lenders, including the World Bank, and paved the way for fresh debt restructuring push. Quite a number of things are expected, of course, with an expected outcome that Ethiopia's external debt, which stood at 28.9 billion in March, according to the government, this has been identified that a 3.5 billion financing gap during the lending program will be able to rectify, and the government said it's hoped the restructuring will achieve $4.9 billion in debt relief, citing official creditor proposals, though without a specified time frame. It will also hope to achieve comparability of treatment, a common framework tenet that requires commercial creditors to be treated in a similar way to official counterparts. There's quite a lot that is happening there, and Ethiopia is actually restructuring and hoping that something good will come out of it. Now, in international news, when we come down to Malawi, Malawi receives an insurance payout of $11.2 million for El Nino-linked drought disaster. The Malawian government has received an insurance payout of $11.2 million for a crippling El Nino-linked drought that led the Southern African nation to declare a state of disaster earlier on this year. The payment was made to Malawi this month through the African Development Bank. And Malawi had a drought insurance policy through the bank and the African Risk Capacity Group and Agency of the African Union. The funds will support food assistance to around 235,000 households in some of Malawi's hardest hit regions and also help with direct relief payments to more than 100,000 households. This was said by the African Development Bank. Malawian President Lazarus Chakwera says the payout was a lifeline for the vulnerable populations. Malawi, which is already one of the world's poorest countries, has had its food supply ruined by drought, which has been attributed to the El Nino natural weather phenomenon that lasted a year before ending in June. The country declared a state of emergency in March and said there was a food crisis in 23 of its 28 districts. Crops, of course, also failed across the region after El Nino brought below average rainfall between November and April. Tens of millions of people rely on small-scale agriculture to feed themselves and make a living across Southern Africa. Southern Africa Bloc SADC said at the Heads of Heads Summit in Zimbabwe recently that around 17% of the region's population, approximately 68 million people, are in need of help because of drought. The U.S. Agency for International Development said the first 3 months of this year brought the most severe drought in Southern Africa in more than 100 years. Zambia and Zimbabwe also declared states of disaster and have asked for international help. And Mozambique, Zambia, and Zimbabwe are expected to receive drought insurance payouts by September. The African Development Bank said. That is some news coming in. Of course, when it comes down to agriculture, like we have been mentioning here on Smart 24 TV, this is a crucial area, something that cannot be played around with. And of course, when we look at the difficulties and the vagaries that continue to hit African countries, which are predominantly agriculture, we realize that a lot still needs to be done in shifting away from rudimentary weather-based sort of agricultural planning. And when it comes down, of course, when we give you this latest, whether it is regional, whether it is international news, of course, our ethos right here at Smart Means Business is to be able to look at a comparative perspective in regards to Uganda. Is Uganda still within that particular blood area that is problematic to other Southern African countries? If this happens in Uganda and there is a problem such as been happening with lots of rain coming in when it's not expected, and then of course you have less rain coming in when it is expected to be much more. This has been happening especially within the last season, and this is detrimental. It's quite detrimental not only to wiping out household poverty, but of course looking at the health implications as well, nutritional and health, as well as coming down into productivity of Ugandans. So are we still in red when it comes down to handling that sort of thing, such as is happening in Malawi, Zambia, and Zimbabwe, and what can be done? We also talked about recently, in the last couple of weeks, about the fact that with agricultural financing facilities, very few are taking up these loans. And why have they been talking about this? Some of them, the agriculturalists, the different farmers, one, are not even aware that some of these facilities exist. And also, two, they say there are quite a number of exorbitant facilities, prerequisites that are put in place within the systems, and they are not able to actually access or qualify to access these funds. We will be talking to someone later next week when we get down to what is happening and why aren't farmers being able to access some of these. In fact, we've had more and more farmers access PDM monies rather than going to the banks, rather than going to these other different institutions in regards to the agricultural facilities, financial facilities that are there. And yet these ones target farmers. They have totally different prerequisites, whereas of course others, whether it is within the banks, whether it is under PDM, will not necessarily be looking at the farmer specifically. So we would want to find out as well, and later on next week we will have someone come down here to let us know what is happening. On a good note, when it comes down to Senegal marks its milestone with the launch of the first satellite. Some good news coming in from Senegal. It has marked a historic milestone with the successful launch of its first satellite from California on Friday evening. It has become one of just 12 African countries with their own surveillance and telecommunications satellites in space. The country's president, Bassirou Diomaye, said the move marks a major step towards Senegal's technological sovereignty, and he expressed his pride and gratitude to all those who made the project possible. The director of Senegal's space agency described the launch as an important step and a historic day in the country's progress and determination to become a space-faring nation. Gaindesat 1A was built by Senegalese engineers in collaboration with France's University Space Center. The nano satellite was launched into orbit together with 115 others from the Vandenberg base in California using SpaceX's Falcon 9 rocket. It will be used to collect data for various state agencies, including those dealing with water resources, civil aviation, as well as meteorology. We wish Senegal the best, of course, and in regards to the fact that it is just one of 12 African countries with their own surveillance and telecommunications satellites in space. It is something, of course, that is worth talking about, worth celebrating. But of course, we get to as well to look at the implications for this. We know for sure there has been quite a lot of traffic going upwards, with lots and lots of countries really getting into the upper strata and looking at ways in which they can get their hands or their footprints into space, because this has been projected as the area that will be looking at sustenance, not only for life, but also for minerals, for other developments as well. Whereas Senegal right now is looking at the technological advancement, of course, but there has been quite a lot of a rush within recent years, with lots of countries looking at some sort of sovereignty by pushing quite a number of satellites up there into space, so that they can be able to compete or sit favorably or be able to have an upper hand when it comes to technological sovereignty, when it comes to placement. But of course, we do know that the Western powers, in most cases, the Western countries are really, really quite in on it when it comes to the US, when it comes to Russia. These are countries that have earmarked and prioritized some of these journeys, some of these research and odysseys up into space. Now, coming in, of course, 12 African countries so far with their own satellites pushed up there. This is something to think about. But of course, as we look, of course, at the different problematic situations coming down here on Earth, it is no wonder that different alternative areas, not only just for life or growing crops or habitation, are being looked at and thrown towards space, but that there is quite a lot that can be looked at and done when it comes to space. That has been international update news, and please let us know what you think. What can Uganda as well benefit from this? What can Uganda do, and what would be the best thing? What would you be looking at? Of course, we did have quite a number of different different investors coming in from the US, talking about habitation, talking about a tourist sort of thing, with lots of lodges and lots of different areas, tourist cargo and tourist sort of journeys being taken up there into space. You've had that happening, and quite a number have been saying, you know what, would want to get up there into space and see what is happening there. I would want to tour space and see. But of course, you do have the reservations. You have had quite a number of space enthusiasts talking about, you know what, not only are we looking at this as part of tourism, but of course there is the fact that we're looking at alternative areas for food growth, we're looking at alternative areas for habitation, we're looking at alternative areas for renewable energy, we're looking at lots of things that can be tapped into space. Now, you also had, in the last couple of years, quite a lot of issues and concerns coming in with the debris that has been left by previous groups that have gone up there. So you have an increase in flying debris that has been left there. And they're saying, if you have polluted the earth down here, can you please clean up your act when you reach up there in space? Because apparently the debris that is being left there and that is flying around, with more and more countries participating in this, there is an increase in the debris. Now, when it comes to debris, when it comes to waste management in relation to this, let's trickle back. Let's just go backtrack, of course, and talk about the fact that in regards to Chitezi, when it comes to Uganda, we still are grappling with waste management, with waste management issues, with a lot of waste right now coming out. Clearly, the debris has moved not only just from up, but is going upwards as well into space and coming down. Looking at Uganda, what is happening, what can be done. Yes, Katabi, when it comes to Entebbe, the lease, the agreement ran out Monday, and of course you did have quite a number of Ugandans coming out and saying, but what is the solution? What is the long-term solution? There are quite the number of piles, not only just within residential areas, but when it comes to the marketplaces, it is a stench. It is reeking of stench. Of course, you do have the market leaders coming up also as well and saying we used to have 4 cars coming in, garbage trucks to pick, but now we are limited to 1 garbage truck. It is just not enough. They are swimming in garbage. But it also gives you quite a sneak peek as well into the preparedness or lack of thereof of the different institutions. KCCA, it also looks at the different hoarding or monopoly of KCCA in waste management. Why is there very little public-private participation in this partnership? Why is it that right now there have been these different concerns coming in of different stakeholders, key players who were interested in coming in and offering KCCA a different partnership to have waste management, but were thwarted by different individuals coming in with their own agendas, and of course the kickbacks, the commissions, the different things that just don't make sense. All these different stories have been coming out within the last couple of weeks. And why is it that it is quite sluggish? The environmental department, when it comes to NEMA, when it comes to the KCCA authorities, when it comes down to the key stakeholders in this, why wasn't it predicted? Why wasn't it really forecasted that this would happen? These are some of the concerns that continuously are coming up in regards to waste management in Uganda. And why is it that areas such as in Jinja that have received over 1.3 billion, 1.2 billion in handling their waste, even areas such as Kabale that did have a site such as that, why is it that they have not been sustainable? What could be the problem? This is something that we will still here at Smart 24 TV continue to look into and find out. Now remember, when it comes down to looking at the different pertinent issues that are happening, we do not do one-offs. Here at Smart 24 TV, we do not do one-offs. We get down into the intricacies and the complexities, and even way after, you can't be able to access some of our different recordings via YouTube of different conversations that we had especially in regards to waste management and the goal that lies therein. But of course, when it comes down, it is quite untapped. Some of these different interventions are being done, implemented haphazardly. And of course, as news is still coming out, they are being thwarted. Any sustainable sustainability questions in regards to waste management is still a little bit rocky. But of course, as we look at Busukuba and the new 12-acre site, we are hopeful. Let us just hope that the KCCA officials this time will look at it from the sustainability point of view so that the Chitezi disaster does not happen. That and coming in much more. Please let us know, get onto our social media pages and let us know what you think about this new waste dumping area that is going to come up. What would you think would be done differently than what was done in Chitezi? What would you think if you were to talk right now and give us a message to pass on to the KCCA officials? What would you want to tell them? Let us know so that we can be able to pass on your messages direct and your concerns direct as well to the relevant KCCA officials. But for now, let me take a short break and I'll be right back at the top of the hour.